أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب إله رب العالمين وأبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال رسول الله في حديث المعراج قال يا أحمد هل تعلم ما ميراث الصوم؟ قال لا. As we said, we will look at the hadith of Mi'raj to understand the importance of fast after the special nights, which was the night of the Shahadat of Amirul Mu'minin, also the night of Shab Qadr. So we return back to that hadith that we started. We hope that we finish in a couple of days. So the hadith of Mi'raj, to remind us again what we have mentioned so far. When Prophet went on Mi'raj, Prophet was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you know what is the mirath of fasting? What is the heritage, or what is the essence of fasting basically? Heritage is something that you leave behind. What remains? What remains of fasting? What is it really? What you get out of it? He says it is eating less and speaking less. So when a person is fasting, he eats less and he speaks less as well, obviously. Then the speaking less aspect will allow him to gain a hikmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person speaks less, automatically he will be provided with hikmat. So there's a relationship of speaking and hikmat. So speaking less will bring that for him, a very practical measure. Obviously, hikmat requires us to study and investigate and learn. That is also there. But something that is very practical is speaking less. When a person who speaks less, it is commendable that a person should speak less. Or if he speaks, now when we are saying it's commendable that he speaks less, that doesn't mean that somebody asks him, he is not replying. Maulana said speak less. The hadith says speak less. That's being rude. Instead of this becoming a positive act, it could become a negative act, right? So speaking when it's required, and speaking for a purpose, and a purpose and intention should be there when a person gives that speech. Mullah Quliya Hamadani, who was the ustad of all of these, Sheikh Ansari in Akhlaq. Sheikh Ansari, we are talking about 16th century. Sheikh Ansari was the founder of the Usuli thought. Many of the books in the Hawza that we have today is of Sheikh Murtuza Ansari. And he was a great scholar of 16th century. The Makasib, the Bay, all of these works are of Sheikh Ansari. And he used to give Dars Kharij. Mullah Quliya Hamadani was a student of him in fiqh. And Mullah Quliya Hamadani was the ustad of Sheikh Ansari in Akhlaq. very renowned scholar, and all of the chain of the Shia tariqa of spirituality, which is of Allama Tabatabai, Qazi Tabatabai, Ayatollah Shustari, Mullah Quli Hamadani, Malik Jawad Aghai Tabrizi, they all returned back to Mullah Quli Hamadani. Mullah Quli Hamadani, when he used to give lessons, he would speak very slowly. I wonder whether you have listened to any of the Bahs al-Kharij of the Maraji, like Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani. I wonder whether you have heard his speech. If you could YouTube it. You could listen to his speech on YouTube of Wahid Khurasani or Fazil Lankarani or all of these Maraji ayats. They speak very slowly. Slowly means that not the voice, but the style, the method. They will say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tonight we have gathered here, like that. So the students complain to Mullah, saying that a lesson that could be taught in 45, a lesson that could be a 20-minute lesson, a lesson that could be taught in 20 minutes, you take 1 hour. A lesson that could be taught in 20 minutes, you take 1 hour, because you speak so slowly. Bismillah. Then Mullah Quli Hamadani says that every word I say, I do intention qurbatan illah before I say that. So that's why it takes time for me. I think about what I'm saying. We have gathered here tonight. Obviously, it will take time, right? So speaking, speaking less, speaking with intention, speaking with nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are saying speaking less, doesn't mean that a person goes and he doesn't speak to anybody. He goes to masjid, he just be very cold, right? We just recited the quality of Amirul Mominin. He used to sit with people. When everybody was quiet, he would even initiate the talk, right? So one have to have sort of like a balance. One should not be an extremist, either that side or that side, in the positive way or in the negative way. Hikmat will be given to him. After that hikmat will bring about ma'rifah, knowledge, ma'rifat and understanding. That ma'rifat and understanding will bring yaqeen. This yaqeen will bring about a state of a person where he doesn't really care how he does the morning, whether he's happy, whether he's where he's carefree, so to speak, because of yaqeen that he has in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's the provider of everything, and he's the caretaker of everything. And this is the maqam of ar-radi'een, those who are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Radiyallahu anhum wa radawan. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person reaches to this maqam, I will provide him with three qualities. Three qualities will be given to him. Number one, shukr without jahala. Number two, dhikr without forgetfulness. He will be always in the state of zikr. And the third thing that we said we will discuss is this. Is a muhabbat. I will provide him muhabbat. A muhabbat la yu'athir ala muhabbati. And it will have no effect, no ta'thir of muhabbat of any al-makhluqeen, of makhluqeen. Any of the muhabbat of makhluqeen will not affect him. His love will be only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His love will be only for God. None of the other love will have. Now once again, we have to be very careful. This doesn't mean that we will not have kindness, or we will not love our children, or we will not love our family. No. That love will become much stronger. That love will be true love, not just a sentimental love. That will be a true emotional, intellectual love, right? Compared to, for example, a very sentimental love when a person says to his child, oh, you are my father, you are my, grandfather. He is not really that, but because of the sentiments that we have, a person says that. It will not be, but when he's saying something, he really means it. When Prophet says, Abiha, it is not out of sentiments, but that is true love. That is based on intellect. on aql. Prophet is not a person who is of sentiments. He is above that. Sentiments is for those those who only believe only on a sort of like a horizontal plane, on this worldly plane, who only dwell in this dunya. They are very sentimental, and they are really moved with sentiments. See, there is one thing which is called emotions. Emotions are based on intellect. Sentiments are not based on intellect as such. There is a relationship with sentiments and emotion, but emotions are, the root of emotions are aql. And it really depends that what sort of aql a person have for that emotion to be stronger. For instance, I'll give you an example. The watch of my father, it's very sentimental to me. It's so sentimental that I will fight with my brother to have that watch. If I am emotionally attached to my father, I will not fight for that watch, because the love of the brothers is more important. See, but I'm giving a sentimental value to that thing. I'm being attached to that. For that, I'm even sort of like, being careless of what will hurt the father or not. Many of us are very sentimental. Especially in the West, what we see, people are very sentimental. If something happens, they give in charity, so on and so forth. But in the true sense, will they give that charity when they are suffering and when they are in pain as well? No. Now, or for instance, we talk about, environment. We talk about ozone layer. We talk about, carbon in the atmosphere, right? But at the same time, we have a laptop, we have an iPad, we have an iPhone, we have all of the technology that is hampering and destroying the atmosphere. We have a, 3.6 valve in car or whatever, right? All of those things which are detrimental to the environment. We have that, but at the same time we are very much we are campaigning for Greenpeace. Right? That's a very sentiment. It's not emotion at all. So muhabbat is something that is based upon aql. A ashiq, a person who, a lover, a true lover, is the most intellectual person. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he had love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He loved Allah, right? And he is the most intellectual. It's not that love, passion, and that love is blind, as they say. No. Love is blind because the aql doesn't have the capacity to understand what love is. That is why it is blind. Right? If someone says that this is what Imam Hussein did, they will say, this love is blind. Right? But they don't understand. They don't have the capacity to really comprehend what that true love is, for which Imam Hussein sacrificed. That could be understood with heart. That is something to do with our qalb, with our soul, with our spirit. Where aql becomes, paimal, where aql sort of can't go any further there. As Jibreel says, I can't go any more further. I will burn my wing. So for that love, for a person to really comprehend and understand, that has to be with the heart. That's where the person goes. The aql kind of becomes limited there. So a true love, when the hadith of Miraj is saying that I will provide him with a love that he will not love any other makhluqeen, or no makhluqeen, no creation's love will overpower the love of God. This doesn't mean that he will love less for his children, or he will love less, he will not love his neighbor, where the Prophet is emphasizing love thy neighbor. That love will show its true color, and that love will be a true love. When he says that he loves his children, he would really love them in the true sense. So here, let me just continue. What will happen with this love? وَأَفْتَحْ عَيْنَ قَلْبِهِ إِلَى جَلَالِهِ وَعَظَمَتِهِ. And he will open the heart, the eye of the heart, or the heart for this person when he gives that love to the adama, to the sovereignty and to the jalal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means that he will be witnessing the jalal and azmat of Allah everywhere. He will be in His presence. La yumkinu firaru min hukumatik. Ahata bi kulli shay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is someone who is all-encompassing. He's all-encompassing in every act of that person. Wherever he is there is the hukumat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sees nothing but Allah. And this happens with love, rather than hukumat as a tyrant, ruler. Or like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me and I will be punished. No. Punishing, hellfire, reward, it goes to a certain limit. But love goes higher than that. When a person becomes a lover, hellfire doesn't really, count. As in the Dua Kumail we recite, right? If you put me in the hellfire, I can bear that. But how about the separation from me to you, O Allah? I cannot bear that. So for a lover, hellfire and reward of Hur al-Ain or of Jannah, it doesn't really work. It doesn't move him. What moves him is the unveiling of the face of the beloved. If the beloved unveils gradually and gradually, as the hadith of the Prophet says, when my lover comes closer to me, I start to unveil myself. I become mahram to him, right? And I start to unveil. The more I unveil, he starts to love me more. Because the beauty of Allah is infinite. The Jamal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no had to the Jamal of Allah. In Munajat of Sha'baniyah, we recite, how is it possible that I could face azab in the hereafter, where you have always shown me the Jamal of yours. You have shown me beauty in this dunya. Whatever you have shown us, isn't it? Allah have shown His beauty compared to, something that is ugly. Our children, our father, our mother, the ziyarat, the ibadah, these are all beauty. This is beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has shown us all our life beautiful things. Then so in the munajat of Sha'baniyah, Hazrat Amir is connecting to Allah and he says, "Oh Allah, you have shown me beauty in this dunya. How can I expect that you will show me, azab in the hereafter or something that is ugly in the hereafter? I have this husn zan. I have this, benefit of doubt upon you. And I have the right to have the benefit of doubt." How clever. Al-Mu'min al-Kayyis. Mu'min is very clever. How he's communicating with Allah. He's dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here. Right? Agha Jawad Amali, when he came to New York to attend the World Religious seminar or firm that they had every few years, they have this. In this he said that in our school, it's a long sort of story, many things happened when he came here, and how he looked. He gave a sort of like a report when he came back to Hausa, when he returned from New York. Just to cut the long story short, in that he mentions that for the school of Shias, we have, three things. One is the Quran, the other is Nahjul Balagha, and we have the Saif Sajjadiyah and the du'as. And in these du'as, the person, the individual, we speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. We connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. And we do sort of like, we communicate between us and Allah in a very lovable way. Like ashiq o ma'shuq, ye guftugu. Oh Allah, if you, in haramtani faman dhal ladhi yarzuqani wa in khadaltani faman dhal ladhi yansurani. Oh Allah, if you do not provide me, who is there to provide me rizq? It is you. So you got to provide that. It's like naz. It's like a person is kind of, trying to be, how shall I say, what you say in English, is behaving, is what is that word? Being like a naughty, like spoiled, mischievous, in a kind of like way. He's trying to deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that fashion. So that is muhabbat. That comes with love, and at the same time, this love which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing. And a love where he will be witnessing, where he will be seeing the jalal and the azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then فَلَا أَخْفِيَ عَنْهُ الْمَخَاصِ. And after that, he will not hide anything from the abd, from that person, of the khalq, of the creation, that ilm khas of the creation. It will be provided to him, ilm khas khalqih, that ilm khas, that special and specific knowledge of the creation, that it is there, it will be provided to this person. To which person? To the person which begins with that fasting. A person who fasts, he speaks less, he eats less. Hikmat, Ma'rifat, Yaqeen, Radiyin, 3 qualities, Shukr, and Zikr, and Muhabbat. And then now all of these things, when Muhabbat comes for him, when this Muhabbat comes from him, all of these things are been given to him. Right? And a knowledge of every shay, of everything. And this is how the Masumin alayhim salam, they had this knowledge. Because Allah provided this knowledge to them. They were aware of each and everything. Sayyid Qazi Tabatabai, Ustad of Allama, he had like 40 or more children. Sayyid Qazi had many children. Some of them were scholars, some of them became businessmen and stuff. He had like probably 4 wives or anything, because they died when he was still alive, and then he got married, and he had like 40 or more children. One of the child was very much into ulum-e-gharibe, in abjad, in ilm-e-jafr, throwing the dice, trying to find out things, Ouija board, calling the spirits and all that, right? This is ulum. It's a sciences, and it's a valid science. Some of the Marajah say it's haram. Some of it say, it doesn't entertain that. It comes under the category of ulum, So his son was into it. And Qazi used to say, Baba, why are you into this thing? Do your lessons, do your usul, do your fiqh, do your tafsir, all this, numerology, and it's nothing, it's worthless, it's useless. Why are you into that? I remember when in the month of fasting, we used to go to the Muassasa Isra Baghay Jawad Amali. We used to have a class with Aghay Parsaniya, who was Ustad for hours in Sharia Manzuma, the text in philosophy of Aghay Sabzawari, Mullah Hadi Sabzawari. And this is before Aghay Jawadi has a masjid now, where he leads prayer every day. Now, they built the masjid, he has his own Hussainiya masjid easily. But previously he has to have an office there. And in the month of Ramadan, it was only in the month of Ramadan we used to have lessons in his office. Otherwise we used to do it in Haram and the different places. So I Parsa used to say, let's do it there at the Zohar prayer. And I Jawadi used to lead the Zohar prayer. And in the month of Ramadan he would do all the Nawafil, all of the Nawafil of Zohar, all of the Nawafil of Asr, and then he would lead the prayer. And then we used to get the opportunity to sit with him. We used to show off with him. We say, wow, we are doing falsafe, we are doing philosophy, of Mullah Hadi Sabzawari, It's like, because we used to show off. Then he would say, Dar fiqh chi mikhonit. He was in fiqh what you are reading. We said, Ay Baba, we came here want to show off. And he's asking about fiqh, about halal and haram in ahkam, Obviously that is of more value, right? Then we said, Dar fiqh luma mikhonim, which is one of the, texts that, we were studying at that time. Then next year, after one whole year, once again, the Manzuma was continuing, the philosophy text, it takes long time, right? We were still studying that. Then I made the same mistake again. I said, we are studying falsafe, Shari Manzume with your ustad, with your student, Aghay Parsaniya. He said, Dar fiqh chi mikhoni. He said, still, haven't really, developed or progress in my being. And it is the same mistake again. He said, Dar fiqh chi mikhoni. I said, okay. You're doing makasib. We excel a bit, for example, right? So, Qazi, that's what it is. It's halal and haram. That's where it begins from. Agha Bahjat, when we used to ask him for zikr, Agha Bahjat, give us some zikr, some names of Allah, so that when we read that, boom, we could have that boost and we can become Arif, In one tasbih, we can become Arif, Insan Kamil, He would say, Risale Amaliye Amal Kardid, have you acted on Risale Amaliye? Do you have Risale Amaliye? Which Tawziul Masail, right? The practical laws of Islam. Do you have that? Do you read that? They said, okay, fine, we just go. Many times, right? So it's halal and haram, right? That's what it is, right? So here, Qazi would say that, why are you into this? Throwing dice, trying to find out what alif means, what is the number of alif. If you add that, what that zikr comes about, you should do that much amount of zikr and this whatever. So he was stuck. His son says, I was stuck in one of the theorems, in one of the sums of Ilm Jafr, and I couldn't figure it out. What's going on? So my father was passing through my hujra where I was sitting, and I was trying to figure it out. I was stuck. So he comes, and then he asked me to do something, in terms of the mechanics of it, in the methodology that I was trying to practice. And then I solved that problem which I was having. I got that number which I wanted, in that. And I was shocked. He says, Father, you never studied this book, but how can you do it? There's something to do with from inside. Ilm is ladunni, is huzuri, is by presence. If a person has that love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things will be provided to him. He should have that passion and love. And really it's Imam Hussain alayhi salam, which really brings that ignites that passion. That energy of love is through Imam Hussain. If we really bring that love of Abu Abdullah in our hearts, and which is easier for us because we could appreciate that. And then with that love, we will be able to understand the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the plain of Karbala, there was not only one Hussein. There were 72 Hussein. Each and every person have become Hussein, in the love of Hussein. And Hussein was in love of Allah. He was fani in the love of Allah. So they were all fani in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why we recite in the ziyarat, yutahabbuna or muhibbuna fillah or something like that. It says the one who were in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were like that. So the criteria is the love. The factor is the factor of love. A true love. When that comes in, then it sort of, alaykum salam, then it plays its magic. Then it does its trick. And this is what we should ask for. Munajat-e-Muhibbin, of the munajat, the 15 munajat of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam are excellent munajat. It is for us to read. It is for us to really bring these munajat into our life. It's good we do every Thursday night Dua Kumail, but it's sometimes good to read few lines of other munajat as well before Dua Kumail and a bit of translation. Agha Hasanzadeh Amali used to say, we have a treasure. Zakhira hai hamare paas duaon ka, right? We have a treasure of duas. If a person wants to, begin his day by reciting the duas that we got, he will never leave the house. He will be just reciting the duas. 1 hour before sunset, 1 hour after sunset, 2 hours before. There's duas and duas and duas. So they ask Agha Hasanzadeh, there are so many duas. There's Iqbalul Amal, Misbah, Misbah al-Munir, Miftah al-Falah, Mafati al-Jinnah. So many dua books. If you put one shelf, the whole shelf could be of all dua books that we got. Different duas. There's not like repetition. It's not like one Mafati reprinted over and over again. No. All different duas. Right? So they asked Agha Hasanzadeh Amali that we have so many duas books, which one to recite? He said at least once in the lifetime, a person should recite all the duas that have been sent by Masumin alayhi salam. At least one time. A dua before going to sleep. In Mafati is there. At least once in our lifetime we should recite that. And then we should go for other dua, then other dua, then other. One should really bring those duas into one's life. So, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So you have the munajat of muhibbin, of the lovers, as the fourth Imam have talked about. Munajat arifin, munajat tawabin, munajat shakin, right? There's a munajat of the lovers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should be recited to really look into. Now, how can we really bring that love? As we said, one is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, that factor. In another hadith, we find that the way that one could install this love in oneself is by the practice of the wajibat, wama, as it says, wama يتقرب إلي عبد من عبادي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. Whatever I have make farida, have made responsible for them, those things which are responsible for them, if they fulfill that, if they are fulfilling their responsibilities, their farizas, through that they are coming closer to me. Through that they are coming closer to me, and I really love that. I love that thing. So through wajibat, if our salat becomes intact, all of the other things fall in its proper place. We have to make our salat correct. If our salat becomes good, all things will be fine. That is why there's so much emphasis on our wajib prayer, praying on time, trying to pray it properly. Yes, we might make errors in recitation of du'as, the zamir, kasra, and we have to be very careful. Yes, Allah looks at the heart of mu'minin and mu'minat, no doubt. But when I am coming here to recite, I should read it once or hear it once so that I do not make that mistake. One have to really practice that. Next year now, when the month of Ramadan would be coming, I will be given the opportunity to recite some du'as. I should start practicing it now, listening it over and over again so that I recite it correctly. Because sometimes when we are reciting, instead of attracting the mercy of Allah, we are attracting the ghazab of Allah. So there has to be, we have to be very careful. We cannot recite the dua which is mustahab to be recited in the restroom while we are breaking fast. The dua of restroom is for that place. The dua of breaking fast is here. It's not like, oh, Maulana, everything is dua. And Allah looks at heart. So the dua of bathroom, I will recite it when I'm eating food because Allah is looking my heart. It is dua. No, it just can't be like that. Right? So, yes, we have to be careful and much more careful in our wajibat. Our makhraj, our pronunciation of hamd, our qul wallahu ahad, our zikr of ruku and sajda. You have to really, rectify them, correct them. As we have, alhamdulillah, mu'mineen and mu'minat are here whose Arabic is good. We can ask them, is this the right pronunciation or not? Correct our prayers. We could listen and correct it. So therefore Allah says that's one of the ways is through that. And then the other thing is ilayya bin nafila. Then after that la yataqarrabu ilayya bin nafila hatta uhibbuhu. And then through nawafil, mustahab prayers that are there, we have to bring that into our life. Yes, before Zuhr it's too much, 8 perhaps we are too busy. Before Asr again 8 too much. At least after Maghrib, there's 4 rakat. After Isha, the Fajr one, the nafile of Layl, the night prayers, especially now that we are awake, for having Sahri, we could do at least, not all the 11 perhaps, just 2 rakat maybe, 3, 4. Gradually we have to, improve it, slowly and slowly, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alayhi tahirin. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم نور ظاهري بطاعتك وباطني بمحبتك وقلبي بمعرفتك وروحي بمشاهدتك وسر استغلال اتصالي بها